Jaylen Brunson is now one of the best point guards in the NBA. But it wasn't always like this. Before he became an all-star and the heart of the New York Knicks, he was just an undersized second-round pick with an uncertain future. Nobody expected him to carry a franchise. But through hard work, grit, and an unshakable love for the game, Brunson rewrote the story. This game is very special to me. This game means everything to me. I put my entire life into this game. From coming off the bench in Dallas to becoming the brightest star in the Big Apple, this is the story of Jaylen Brunson. His journey starts in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just south of New York City, where basketball was already in his blood. His father, Rick, spent nearly a decade in the NBA and even played for the Knicks, so Jaylen practically grew up in locker rooms. He was the kid who had Knicks gear all over the house, the kid ushers in attendance at Madison Square Garden recognized by name, the kid whose best friends were players like Larry Johnson and Marcus Camby, until his mom finally enrolled him in pre-K so he could meet kids his own age. For Jaylen, the game wasn't just something he watched, it was the world he lived in. And from the very beginning, he knew he wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps and make basketball his life.
Early life and father's influence. In 2006, when Jaylen was just 10, everything shifted. He followed his dad to a Sixers preseason practice, excited to watch NBA players up close, only to find out that Rick had been cut. That moment crushed him. But before leaving the locker room, Rick bent down to his son and said, "If you really want this, you've got to work like nobody's business." Those words became Jaylen's compass. His father's playing career ended that day, but his coaching journey began, and with it came years of instability. The Brunsons packed up and moved 7 different times as Rick chased jobs, but through all the chaos, basketball was Jaylen's anchor. By 7th grade, he gave up every other sport, choosing hoops and nothing else. That's when his dad became more than a coach. He became his personal trainer. Workouts were brutal, full-speed drills, shot after shot, relentless corrections, no shortcuts. 3 days a week turned into daily sessions as Jaylen hit high school. And instead of breaking under the pressure, he embraced it. He learned early that talent alone wasn't enough. It was work, discipline, and resilience that made the difference. Rick often said he didn't understand how hard he had to work until he got to the NBA, and he refused to let his son make the same mistake. By instilling that mindset from the start, he wasn't just building Jaylen's game, he was building his future.
High school success was when Jaylen Brunson's story began to shine. After years of moving with his dad's career, the family finally settled in Lincolnshire, Illinois, and Jaylen found stability on and off the court. At Stevenson High School, he quickly became a legend. As a freshman, he earned all Lake County honorable mention, but his sophomore year put him on the map. Stevenson started 10-4, then Brunson led them on a 19-game winning streak to the state championship game against powerhouse Simeon Career Academy, led by Jabari Parker and Kendrick Nunn. Despite his best efforts, Stevenson fell 58-40, and Jaylen was held to just 1 point in the second half. The loss was painful, but it lit a fire in him. He still averaged 21.5 points that year and was the only sophomore named All-State. As a junior, he elevated again. Stevenson went 32-1, and in the state semifinals against Jahlil Okafor's Whitney Young, Brunson delivered one of the greatest performances in Illinois high school history, scoring 56 points in a record-setting game. The crowd was stunned, but Stevenson lost 75-68. Even so, Jaylen's season was unforgettable. 26.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 2.9 steals, Illinois Gatorade Player of the Year, and the only junior on the All-State first team. Suddenly, he was a 5-star recruit, ranked #1 in Illinois, with scholarship offers pouring in. Before his senior season, he committed to Villanova, drawn to their culture and toughness. In his final year, Brunson finally got his storybook ending. Back in the state championship game, there was no heartbreak this time. He dropped 30 points to lead Stevenson to a 57-40 win and their first ever state title. After the buzzer, he hugged his parents in tears, calling it one of the best moments of his life. "Me and my dad had a moment I'll never forget," he said. Along with the title, Jaylen set the career scoring record in Lake County, was crowned Illinois Mr. Basketball, and repeated as Gatorade Player of the Year. From losing 2 straight championship games to finally lifting the trophy, Jaylen's high school career was a mix of heartbreak, resilience, and triumph. By the time he left for Villanova, he wasn't just an undersized guard with dreams anymore. He was a proven winner, a state champion, and a player ready to take on the next level.
College dominance at Villanova. As that chapter closed, Brunson turned his focus to college ball, carrying the weight of being a top recruit with all eyes on him to deliver. And he wasted no time showing he belonged. From the moment he stepped onto the court at Villanova, the Wildcats surged, climbing to the top of the national rankings and finishing the season as the 6th-ranked team in the country. When March Madness came, Brunson was ready for the bright lights. In the Elite Eight against powerhouse Kansas, it was a battle for the ages. Both sides trading baskets in a nail-biting finish, but it was Jaylen's ice-cold free throws that sealed the deal, sending Villanova to the Final Four. From there, they dismantled Oklahoma, setting up a legendary title game against North Carolina, a game still remembered as one of the greatest in NCAA history. As a freshman starter, Brunson may not have been the headline guy, but he was a rock in the lineup when Chris Jenkins buried that iconic buzzer beater that delivered Nova a national championship. By his sophomore year, Brunson wasn't just a role player anymore, he was the engine, averaging nearly 15 points and over 4 assists per game, earning first-team All-Big East honors. He proved he was more than capable of leading, even though the Wildcats suffered an early tournament exit. That disappointment only fueled him, setting the stage for one of the most dominant redemption runs ever. In his junior season, Brunson took over. No more doubts, no more questions. This was his team. He elevated his game to another level, averaging 19 points and almost 5 assists, orchestrating Villanova's offense with precision and confidence. And most importantly, winning. The Wildcats didn't just win games, they crushed teams, running through the NCAA tournament and winning every matchup by double digits, culminating in another national title. This time, Brunson was no sidekick. He was the leader, the face, the guy everyone turned to when the pressure mounted. He was named National Player of the Year, sweeping nearly every major college award, cementing his place in history as one of the greatest to ever play at Villanova. For Brunson, every step of the journey carried the same storyline. People doubted him. They said he was too small, not athletic enough, not quick enough. And every single time, he responded by proving them wrong. From high school stardom to 2 national championships and the title of best player in college basketball, he had built a resume that should have erased all doubts. But little did people know, the biggest test of Jaylen Brunson's career was still waiting for him at the next level, the NBA
draft and early struggles. With nothing left to prove after another dominant year at Villanova, Jaylen declared for the NBA draft. On paper, his resume screamed lottery pick. 2 national championships, a National Player of the Year award, and a reputation as one of the most reliable leaders in college basketball. But the 2018 draft was loaded with big names at the top like DeAndre Ayton, Luka Dončić, and Trae Young. Talents like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Michael Porter Jr., and Anthony Simons were taken ahead of him. When the dust settled, Jaylen slipped all the way to the second round. At pick number 33, the Dallas Mavericks took him, completing one of the greatest draft hauls in recent memory, pairing Dončić and Brunson in one night. For many, it was shocking to see him fall so far. He had the pedigree, the toughness, and the track record of winning, yet scouts doubted whether his game would translate. They said he was too small, too slow, not athletic enough to hang with NBA guards. Most thought his ceiling was a career backup. Brunson didn't care. His first season wasn't flashy. He was buried on the depth chart behind Dennis Smith Jr. and Luka, but when his number was called, he delivered. In February, starting in place of Luka, he dropped 22 points, then followed it up with 34 against the Spurs, proving he belonged. By the end of the year, he'd carved out a role as the Mavs' 6th man. But just as things were looking up, Jaylen hit his first major roadblock. Midway through his second season, he tore the labrum in his shoulder and needed surgery, ending his year early. For any player, especially a young guard still trying to prove himself, that kind of injury can be devastating. Shoulders are everything in basketball: shooting, dribbling, finishing through contact. And there were whispers that he might never be the same again.
Breakout in Dallas. Brunson was no stranger to adversity, and after recovering from injury, he confidently said, "Shoulders 100%, I'm ready to go." In his third year, he broke out, posting career highs of 12.6 points, 3.5 assists, and 3.4 rebounds, while finishing fourth in Sixth Man of the Year voting. Dallas finished fifth in the West, giving him his first playoff run, but it went poorly. His numbers dropped across the board. His plus-minus was an ugly -56, and the Mavs lost in 7. Instead of extending him while his value was low, Dallas just picked up his option for a fourth season, a decision they would soon regret. Because in year 4, Brunson turned himself into a star. That rough playoff run fueled him, and he entered the 2021-22 season determined. He earned a starting spot and delivered. There was a period where Luka went out and I started, and I was playing really well. I was averaging like 20 and 6 maybe. Over the season, he put up 16.3 points, 4.8 assists, and 3.9 rebounds, helping Dallas secure the 4th seed. But the real breakout came in the playoffs. With Luka sidelined against Utah, Brunson carried the Mavs. After a Game 1 loss, he exploded for 41 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in Game 2, then followed with 31 points and 6 assists in Game 3. Suddenly, the Mavs led 2-1 without Luka, and Jaylen had announced himself as a star. Luka returned later, but Brunson had already proven he could shoulder the load. Dallas won the series in 6. In the second round, he stayed hot, averaging nearly 19 points against the 64-win Suns and helping Dallas shock them in 7. The Mavs eventually lost to Golden State in the conference finals, but Brunson had erased all doubt. He wasn't just Luka's sidekick, he was a player ready to lead. His price skyrocketed, and now Dallas had a problem. I really did want to stay in Dallas. Before my 4th season, we tried to extend. The most we could get was like 4 years, $55 million. I thought I would be there for a long time, and I liked my role there. But that moment had passed. When Brunson hit free agency, the Knicks saw their chance, and the rest of the league realized Dallas had let a future star slip away.
Return to New York and Knicks revival. Plenty of teams wanted Jaylen Brunson, but the Knicks were the natural fit. They hired his father, Rick, as an assistant coach, and Leon Rose, the team president, was once his agent. So when New York offered him a 4-year, $104 million deal, it felt like destiny. Critics mocked the move, calling it an overpay for a guard who was just Luka Dončić's sidekick in Dallas. But for Jaylen, this was more than money. It was a homecoming. As a kid, he roamed Madison Square Garden wearing a Knicks jersey, and now kids wore his. And with his dad on staff and his best friends on the team, he said, "When you have your support group around you, it allows you to be yourself." The Knicks had been lost for years, making only one playoff appearance in nearly a decade and getting embarrassed by Atlanta. But Brunson was the spark they needed. His bulldog mentality fit Tom Thibodeau's demanding system, and having first met Thibs back in 8th grade when his dad worked for the Bulls, he already knew what kind of coach he was. Now, he was the one running the show, and he thrived. As the primary ball handler, he made life easier for everyone, especially Julius Randle, who said, "He just made the game a million times easier for me." In his first season, Brunson set career highs with 24 points and 6.2 assists while leading the Knicks from 11th to 5th in the East, and their offensive rating jumped from 22nd to 3rd. Madison Square Garden came alive again as fans finally believed. But it was the playoffs where Brunson silenced every doubt. Against Cleveland, he averaged 24 points and carried the Knicks to their first series win since 2012. And in the second round against Miami, he took his game to another level, averaging 31 points and scoring 41 in the elimination game, even as New York fell short. In one season, the so-called overpaid role player turned into the face of the franchise, the 33rd pick who carried the weight of New York basketball and gave the city hope again.
Historic 2023-24 season. When the 2023-24 season began, all eyes were on Jaylen Brunson and the Knicks. Was last year just a flash in the pan, or could this undersized second-round pick truly carry New York? Brunson answered with one of the greatest seasons in franchise history. He erupted for a career-high 61 points against the Spurs, then casually tied an NBA record by hitting 9 threes without a single miss against the Suns. Night after night, he delivered masterpiece performances, becoming only the 4th Knick ever to score 40 in back-to-back games, and tying the team record for most 30-point games in a season with 36. The chants of MVP inside Madison Square Garden weren't just noise anymore, they felt real. For the first time in his career, Brunson was an all-star, and the Knicks stormed to the 2nd seed in the East. Then came the playoffs and the real test. Their first-round matchup was brutal. Joel Embiid returned for the Sixers, and Julius Randle was lost for the year. But Brunson didn't blink. He closed the series with 3 straight 40-point explosions, something no Knick had ever done and no player had managed since Michael Jordan. Madison Square Garden shook with every basket, every floater, every clutch 3. In the second round against Indiana, Brunson picked up right where he left off, dropping 40 again in Game 1, joining an exclusive club of just 4 players in NBA history to record 4 straight 40-point playoff games. But fate wasn't on the Knicks' side. Mitchell Robinson broke his ankle, OG Anunoby strained his hamstring, Josh Hart went down in Game 6, and finally Brunson himself fractured his left hand in Game 7. Even then, he never complained. After carrying New York on his back, he simply said, "Tired is for the weak. Stay strong."
Jaylen Brunson has almost single-handedly revived one of the biggest franchises in the NBA, proving that sometimes the overlooked pick can change everything. In a city where pressure has crushed so many stars, Brunson has embraced it and turned Madison Square Garden into his stage. And if history tells us anything, he's not done yet. Next year, he'll be back stronger, hungrier, and ready to push the Knicks even further. So what do you think? Can Brunson actually lead New York back to the finals? Or is he just carrying them until the front office gives him more help? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for watching Nonstop, and if you enjoyed this story, check out the next video right here. You don't want to miss it.